Two-time NPFL champ, SaveMore Outdoors Pro from Soukup, Oklahoma. Put your hands together for the hookup, John Soukup.
Hey guys, welcome back to SaveMore, FishMore segment of the day. And today we're talking about the Hydra worm. What is the Hydra worm? Here you guys go. Look at this beautiful packaging. Got the little clamshell protecting the tails. And this is one of my favorite swimming worms. For those of you guys that throw the speed worm, you know, we all know that the speed worms down in Florida or anywhere that you have needlefish, if you don't know what a needlefish is, it looks like this. That's what a needlefish looks like, okay? If you've never seen a needlefish, I've seen them mostly in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and you're typically gonna see it around hydrilla areas, grassy areas, Kissimmee grass areas. It's more of a Florida fish, all right? And so this is why this bait is so good in Florida, all right? We got two different sizes, by the way. We got the Hydra worm 6-inch and the 7-inch. I'm gonna talk about both of them. And as far as color goes, in my world, maybe you do a red bug, but the June bug and the tannicky color and the watermelon red are really the only two colors that you need. This is almost identical to what a needlefish looks like. Looks like a baby gar, and I've seen them I've caught them like that long, however long that is. So this thing right here, don't worry about being too scared to throw a 7-inch. All right, so you see it's just a plastic worm. It's got a tail, and the tail is going to kick. When the way it kicks, it kind of goes through the water like this, all right? The same way those needlefish swim, just really horizontal. They don't have a lot of side wag action. They swim really fast, and down in Florida, those big bass love them. Love them, love them, love them. So if you're a speed worm guy, I'm talking to you already, you already know. You already know more than I do about the story about how they feed on these things. So what I'm going to show you guys is just a couple simple rigging techniques and kind of how I fish this, all right? So right here, we got the siren hook, the BKK, this is a 5/0, all right? Now one thing that's kind of important is to understand about the way the tail kicks, okay? And what the up and down is, all right? It's like the rudder on a boat. That tail needs to be down, okay? That rudder needs to be down. So when you rig it, you're gonna take your hook, make sure you go to the downside, pinch, turn, keep that nice and straight. All right. Bring it in. It pokes out a little bit. You see I pinched a little bit, and then bring it back into the meat. Okay. So the thing's going to swim through the water like this. Now, one of the keys typically is try to get away with as heavy a weight as possible. You hear that all the time, so you can have speed. But speed is very crucial. Deciding what factor of speed, whether you're fishing in 1 foot of water, whether you're fishing in 15 foot of water, whether you're fishing in grass that touches the bottom or comes to the surface. These are all things you're gonna have to work through on your own. But typically, you know, you're throwing anywhere from an 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce weight. You can get up to 3/8 ounce if you got more speed needed. But for the most part, a 1/4 ounce on this bait right here, you can easily fish 15 foot deep, all right? 1/8 ounce and like 1 to 5 foot, take it out there and you slow roll. These fish, when needlefish come up to the top, they come up to the top of the water and they stay real high. You'll see them with your eyes. And that's why you want a lighter weight, because these fish are gonna feed up on this, all right? You can throw this on shell bars as well, but this is not one of those situations where I'm gonna just throw and drag the worm, all right? You can throw and drag this worm, but this is a specific technique that I'm gonna use. Throw out and may count down to the bottom, lift and start retrieving. Or I may cast out and just immediately start retrieving. That's something you just have to find out, practice throughout the day, depending on how the fish are sitting and where they'll listen to the fish, they'll tell you what they're doing, all right? So when I have heavy cover grass, a lot of times in the early mornings when there's not a lot of light, I'm gonna throw out there, I'm gonna hold my rod tip up, I'm gonna immediately start reeling. Me personally, I'm throwing this most of the time on braid, all right? I know there's a lot of times the guys will throw in fluorocarbon, we'll talk about in a second, but in this situation, I'm making as far a cast as I can. Let's say I make a 100-foot cast, which is very possible, over the top of tons of hydrilla, all right? And those fish, when the sun's not out, they're going to rise above that stuff and they're going to be feeding. Maybe there's only 1 foot to 3 foot of room there from the surface of the water to where they're on the top of the vegetation. And I'm going to swim this above it. So if I got a bite 80 feet out, I want braid, I want a heavy hook, and I want a heavier worm rod to flip and stick rod so that when they load in, you feel that first click, the second click, and you're going to pull into them, all right? And you're going to keep reeling, and that braid and that heavier rod's going to keep those fish, when they immediately try to dive into that grass, it's going to cut through that grass and pull those fish out. So that's something that's really important. Now, with that being said, you got to be careful that you don't set the hook too fast. All right, when you feel that first tick, you know it's there. You need to reel into them. Make sure you load, because you're going to be really sensitive rod with all that braid, and you're going to have much stretch. So make sure you're reeling into the fish. Okay. So the other way to do this is, let's say the sun's up, and we got shadows now. We got grass. Maybe we got eel grass, not just hydrilla. There's various different grasses, all your different kinds of grasses. And you got a patch that's out there in, like, let's say 15, 10, 12, 15 foot of water, and you're going to cast this bait beyond. Say this is my handy grass mat. We're casting beyond. We're going to let it sink down. Boom, it hits bottom, let it get slack. Slowly reel into the grass mat, and you're going to kind of bump it as it comes along. Bump, reel, bump, reel. Make sure you're still making contact, telling those fish, hey, easy. Got an easy meal coming, easy meal coming, easy meal coming. You get to that edge, go ahead and drop it again, and then start reeling it back. Now, there are multiple times during this cast and this retrieve that you could get bit. And to make yourself efficient, be very aware when you're getting bit and repeat that. What I mean by that is, let's say you're casting at this grass mat and you cast out here, splash, comes down, and as you're coming down, you're lifting up, and boom, it's heavy already without even working it. What happened is these fish were really aggressive. They saw it coming. Most likely there was more than one there if they did that. They came up and ate it on the fall. Pay attention to that, because if you keep on casting and you're spending a lot of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're spending all your time reeling, if they're biting on the fall, then just reel in immediately and make another fall cast, okay? So one way that they'll bite. The second potential way is they hit, you're bumping into this grass, they come out of the grass when you're bumping. As soon as you feel a tick, be prepared, all right? Or as it comes to this edge, you let it fall, and there's some fish sitting in the shadows and they feed, all right? Those are really common ways for fish to get bit, but the one thing that you really want to do with a speed worm is you don't want to use it like a really close quarter lure a lot of times. I mean, you can, but what I'm saying by that is you want to stay back from this grass mat. Give yourself some distance, cast, reel, retrieve, do the bump. When fish are lethargic and they're not feeding really aggressively, you'll get the bites where you're coming up and you've been reeling for a long ways. They're following it. You guys, we know if you got forward-facing sonar how much they follow. Give them that time to follow it, and if it comes up, boom, they'll grab it. Give them some time to follow and pay attention. If you're casting at a grass mat and you cast at it and it's 80 foot out and you get bit 20 foot to the boat, that fish most likely didn't just come out from under the boat. It actually came from that grass mat, followed it out 60 foot and decided to get bit. So sometimes you may have to put some distance in between you and the grass mat and make this thing cover some water. So very important key things to pay attention to. Now, why did I throw this big dog versus this big dog? A couple reasons. This big dog's got a bigger bite, all right? If I'm on a little bit dirtier water, look how much bigger this tail is, all right? It's gonna kick out a lot more water. When those fish are using their lateral lines versus their eyes and feeding off their lateral lines, all right? We understand that fish feed off of their eyesight, but when the water gets dirty, they use their lateral lines, and they can feel the pulsation come like a radar coming through the water. You want them to feel it and know where they're at. If they make a move in dirty water, dingy water, okay, that's, depends on where you're at in the country. Dirty and dingy water in Oklahoma is a lot different than dirty, dingy water in Florida, all right? So you guys understand in your area, if it looks dirty or dingy to you, then try the bigger thump, 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 thump. If they come out from a long ways and they're following it and they can't track it, they're more likely to give up on it. A bigger thump in dirtier water, they'll be able to find it and locate it, all right? The other time, man, you're around hydrilla and you know these things, that there's 7 to 10 pounders down in there, and you want the biggest bite possible. That's when I'm going to throw the bigger worm. So I may start out with a day. This is my limit getter. Once I got a limit, I'm wanting to cull, break out the bigger worm, all right? When the two different colors, June bug versus watermelon red, all right? Dirtier, dingier water, darker colors, all right? Cleaner water, more of a new natural color. that's a little bit of a breakdown of the different ways that I like to fish it, different colors, and the different sizes of the Hydra worm. Go check them out, guys. If you haven't seen them, believe me, this is something you're going to really want to have in your arsenal. Go to SaveMore and check them out.